Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash Brent, Commander, in the house as well, and we are all here for you on this Juneteenth. Glad you're joining us live from the Atzenhofer studio.
Oh, man, I was good. Juneteenth. Okay.
Yep. That's what it is. Federal offices closed. City offices, I think, closed. Banks closed.
Schools closed.
Right.
They already are. Mark Hurst, Ricky King, Bobby Leister on the podium. No, Mark Hurst, Scott Tomko, Ricky King.
There you go.
On the podium this morning. Almost missed Mark Hurst. So glad you're all joining us, whether you're on Magic, the No Bull Network. Thanks to everybody who listens on terrestrial radio. And to those of you that tune in on Facebook and YouTube, you can take part with your comments. If you don't want to comment, give us a call, 361-894-4020.
Boy, you
Take
summed
your
it
calls
up.
this morning.
Summed it. I want to give a special shout out to all the dads out there.
Yep.
Father's Day weekend. Hope you guys.
Happy Father's Day to you, sir.
To you too, sir.
And the new dad over there.
And the
in
commander.
the corner.
This is it's his first Father's Day.
That's right.
Hey, that's awesome. Yep.
And she's still too young to get you a present that you will never use.
That's right.
Add it to the other ties in the closet.
Yesterday, my wife said, "What are we doing this weekend?" I said, "I don't know. What are we doing this weekend?" And she goes, "I feel like something's happening, but I don't know what it was."
There you go.
Okay, great.
I do miss the ability for kids to make like a clay ashtray
Right.
like we used to.
Sure. I think one time I had like a little, it was a little clear acrylic coaster, and they put your picture underneath it. We did that in elementary school.
Nice.
Yeah. Somebody at our house decided, not one of my parents, but someone used it as an ashtray, and it melted the edge of it. And I remember that as a kid. Not that it scarred me or anything. It didn't have any effect on me.
It did.
No.
We made ashtrays. We made coffee mugs.
Now they make crack pipes and little bongs.
Then we got to junior high and made like a cutting board and a
Vape. Did you make vape?
Here,
No.
Dad, here's your crack pipe.
Right.
Trevette. That was for Mom and
A
Grandma.
Trevette, the thing you set hot pots on.
Yeah, it was wood with an inlaid tile.
Nice.
That was pretty nice, actually.
That's nice. The
Like
tile
a
said, "I love you, Mom."
No, it was just tan and
Who
color.
gave the better gifts, you or your twin brother? Which one
About
of
the
you,
same?
by nature, was more, empathetic and caring?
We're about the same, I think.
Yeah,
Probably the twin brother.
probably. Corey.
Probably the twin
That
brother.
basically him saying, "I think we're the same," as Ash projecting,
Well, he lived
appropriating his brother's.
He
kindness.
lived there for his whole life.
Well, till he
I
was
was
like
not
40.
so,
Yeah, still living at home.
in the basement.
Sure.
You moved out when you were 14. Is that right?
Pretty close.
He was the Corey was
14
the
years. Yeah.
ready to go.
Corey was the role model for Will Ferrell's character in Wedding Crashers. Ma, the meatloaf. Ma. The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerland Feed. For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. Jackie Parsons welcoming you in today and tomorrow. Can come in and get the things you need for your yard. It's 82 degrees already. I mean, am I wrong? 82 already.
Seems warm.
Under cloudy skies, heading to a high today of 91. And there's a chance of rain late this afternoon, and then a chance of
There
rain.
was like a 24% chance yesterday when I looked.
Yeah, 45 today, 55 tomorrow, 40 on Sunday. So
David Glass checking in. There's Mom.
There's
Good
my
morning.
mom. Hi,
Andrew
Mom.
Alvarez, P. Strauss, Lisa Poole, Daniel Wade White, John Anderson, Linda Chris, Tammy Keeling. There's Bobby Leister. So glad you're all here.
I talked to Mom yesterday
Yep.
via text. Remember, you were there. It was somewhat discombobulated. I think you asked something polite like, "Is your mother having a stroke?" I don't know. She sent me like CHO. I think she meant chronicle. The story my mom was trying to share with me is many of you have probably heard of Pastor Ed Young. He was the former senior pastor at Second Baptist Church, Houston. Take a guess. Now, I mean, Houston's a big place.
Mhm.
Take a guess It's a church. You know, Second Baptist. How many members do you think Second Baptist Church has? People that are on the rolls. Baptists have what they call their letter, if you will, and you assign your membership to a common body of believers.
85,000. That's
your
guess.
guess.
That's my guess.
Okay, what's your guess?
30,000.
How about 94,000 members of this
Dang.
church? Now think about that. 94,000 members. So Ed Young in 2024 actually stepped down as senior pastor, and one of his sons, he has a son, Ed Young Jr., who is the pastor of a church in the Dallas metro area. He was always kind of like he kind of reminds me of Eric Roberts. He was kind of like the forward thinking. He was like, his father always wore a suit in the pulpit, a suit and tie. And Ed was the guy that would come out in a Guayavera and flip flops and just want to talk about Jesus, man. Let's just get real with Jesus. And I liked Ed Jr., but I used to play basketball with Ed Jr. when I lived in Houston. And he just wasn't, to me, he wasn't like as called of a pastor. He was just in his dad's business.
He's the guy that's responsible for people wearing baseball caps and T-shirts to church.
Yeah, which I still think is unacceptable.
I agree.
And
good morning, Marina.
And then his little brother, Ben, who was kind of a shooting guard, but not quite as good a player. Ben is now, he's in his late 50s. He's the senior pastor now at Second Baptist. And it was interesting to me that when Ed stepped down, Baptist churches are fiercely autonomous, and they usually have a pastor search committee, and they decide to go hire an employee of the church, the pastor, a new pastor. And they did it at Second Baptist. Check this out, 94,000 members. They have a 6-member board, 4 of whom are related to the Youngs.
Right.
Just being honest, 4 of them are related to the Youngs, and they just appointed Ben the new pastor, which, by the way, was a great move. He's a fantastic pastor. I have no problem with his abilities. He's fantastic. But what they did, Ash, on the way out is Pastor Ed Young, for years, has done a radio program called The Winning Walk. It's a little 5-minute, maybe 10-minute, sometimes devotional, where he tells those little pastoral quips that are interesting, but always have a point. It's very well done. It's very good stuff. But when Ed Young left, the church committee of 6 bequeathed him his archives. So Second Baptist Houston has been recording sermons and all that for decades. For decades, they've had a guy like Cody that's an AV guy who they gave him. It's like if Walt Disney left and they gave him all the movies. And that's what they did with Ed Young Sr. And it's created kind of a ruckus, not because anybody doesn't want Ed to have that, although the Winning Walk generates $4 million a year in revenue. And it's run by a foundation of which Ed Young Sr. is the foundation. Now, you could say, oh, he's just getting rich. Well, part of me says it's his intellectual property.
Right.
Part of me says it's still the property of the church because all the videos and recordings were put together by the church. And I'm getting to the real point here. The reality is that Ed Young Sr., nobody seems upset that he got the archives or that he generates $4 million. And by the way, $3.8 million last year was shown to be the expenses of the foundation, if you will, maybe netted $200,000. The advertising and the promotion and the airtime to air the quips and to put them all together, it cost almost as much as the deal generated. So nobody at the church is really upset about Ed Young's situation. What they are upset about is how could this body of 6 affect other things at the church without the 94,000 members having consent? So it's not like here where we have a House of Representatives and we kind of cede certain authority to them to make decisions for us.
Do they elect their 6 members?
No, they don't. Key point. And there are actually lawsuits afoot, which by the way, this is how the devil, evil, gets in the middle of a godly situation. People's egos, people's feelings get involved. Nobody has even ever alleged that this group of 6 did anything detrimental to the church or that they ever had an ill intent, but somebody brought up, well, they could raise rates at our church schools without asking anybody. They could sell off the property in Katy without asking anybody. And these things are true. So you're kind of counting on this group of 6.
Well, when they have those business meetings, don't they usually take action on things like that? Or do they have the business
I'm not
meetings?
sure they have the same business like that we have at Parkway, where
Right.
Pastor Mike will invite you. I invite you to stay. If you're a member of this church, we're going to discuss some things. There'll be a question and answer period, and we may vote on some things.
And lots of food, because otherwise you won't stay.
Well, that's just a Baptist thing. It's got to be. If they call for the covered dish, if it's a covered dish, if somebody's bringing the green bean casserole,
It's important.
there are missionary discussions to have. So, Mom, there's an overview of what's going on at Second Baptist. I don't think it's bad. I don't. Nobody is alleging that there's anything inappropriate going on. There's just some in-house
Hanky panky?
people are concerned. I would be concerned. I'll admit. There's 6 people, 4 of whom are related to the Youngs. I mean, this is getting somewhat Joel Osteen-ish, and that's not a good look. Joel Osteen is not the foundation of a good Christian congregation.
Right.
So there you have it. That's the big story out of Second Baptist Houston. It's right up the road.
Yep.
If you ever have a chance to attend, it is a beautiful church, and it is a well done presentation. It's like going to a Spurs game.
How much of that 3.8 went to salary?
So you don't know, right? You don't know, but Ed Young's probably on a lifetime, pension that just. I mean, you don't want to think about.
I'm
the
sure
numbers.
he's okay.
Yeah, you don't want to think about the financial numbers. He's probably more than okay. But it is interesting that if you'd asked me how many elders do you think make the financial decisions of that church, I would have said 50. There's a body of 50. No, 6. Appointed by Ed Young.
Allows for more nimble decision making.
Oh, yeah, they can move swiftly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like the Supreme Court trying to, we need 25 guys and the next 19 need to be Democrats. Yeah.
Well, financial shenanigan. I don't financial chicanery. Questions.
Yeah. Concerns.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of the framing of the wording around the Obama Center. It's not a presidential library because Obama didn't want to have to pay $500 million roughly
Right.
to the federal government
for perpetual
for
care.
perpetual care of the archives of any of the materials that the federal government would have lent to the Obama presidential library. So it's just the Obama Center. But anytime anybody asks this question, where did the money come from? And I just heard a CBS News reporter this morning. Well, it primarily came from private donations.
Yeah.
Well, that's not 100% private donations. And you can't find out where the government or taxpayer money went, except, taxpayer money was used for the landscaping and some of the grounds and all of that. But was there taxpayer money that went into the building of the structure? That's the question.
And
Can't
who
seem to find
selected
an
the
answer to.
architect and who selected the contractors and all the stuff that you yell at Donald Trump about? Where are you leftist idiots on that?
So wait, it's not a presidential library?
No, because historically the president has to come up with in some form 60% of the cost of the library. So if it costs $20 million. He's got to come up with 12 that goes into essentially a fund that allows for the perpetual upkeep, maintenance, and care.
It would have gone to the National Archives and Records Administration.
Right.
And it used to be 20% of the cost of the project, but that has been raised to 60%.
But I think it was just recently raised, which is kind of what dropped the hammer on Obama. But what's interesting about this deal, and I think it's very much symbolic of the Obama administration, the original budget was $300 million to build this place, and it's cost to date $850 million. And that's interesting. It does. It's Christy Thurman says it looks like something out of a Star Wars movie. I think it's very unattractive to begin with. It's obviously art. It's an architectural statement. But I think that if you look at it just right, it looks like Barack Obama's head. I'm not being silly. I wonder if maybe that was part of the deal. I'm on record. Obama was a very youthful, athletic. He was actually the president that the media tried to make Joe Biden appear to be. And there are times that, right?
Full and athletic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would see Barack he would kind of do his little cool jog down, through the White House lawn and stuff. And there's no doubt he was a master manipulator of the media. He knew
Charismatic guy.
Absolutely.
Attractive man.
Yeah. He's a good looking guy. And so is his husband.
Ouch.
I'm just saying.
It just looks like something out of a jail cell.
It does. You know what it looks like to me? Something that would be hard to deface, right? There's not a lot of glass. It's a hard place for the ne'er-do-wells on the south side of Chicago.
You're not going to be able to damage it in a riot, but you're going to be able to spray paint the heck out of it.
Right.
Yeah. But
there you have it. Look.
Yeah.
From the can't take a joke crowd.
No.
So from the time sensitive in light of the UFC, great humor is lost on the slow minded. This is breaking news right here. Corpus Christi City Attorney Miles Risley announced his retirement effective August 2nd, citing the deep divisions on city council and the personal attacks connected to the ongoing efforts to remove Mayor Paulette Guajardo from office.
Wasn't he here before?
Was he?
That name sounds real familiar.
The only one I ever knew was Thomas Goosh.
Before that.
Well, he just says the deep division on city council created by the removal action and lawsuits and the personal attacks engendered by the removal engendered I can't read, I'm a reader's on engendered by the removal action have damaged my ability to be effective as an attorney for the city. In a letter, Risley praised city manager Pete Zanani for his leadership during a difficult period and noted the strength of the city's legal and administrative teams. So, yeah. So the retort on a Friday is middle school immaturity. When embarrassed, blame others for not being able to take a joke. Got it. Okay, Tommy. Thank you. That means a lot from Tommy. Yeah, Michelle Wilson Hawkins gets it. Him and his wife, Michelle.
No,
Yeah.
I think she's talking about
Yeah, no, I get
Miles Risley.
it. Oh, him and his wife, Michelle, were from here?
I think so.
Okay. I thought maybe him and his husband, Michelle. Okay.
No, she's moved on from the Obama jokes.
Oh. Well, the key word there is jokes on a Friday. Let's heaven forbid we throw in a little fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Hoppin', good morning.
Yeah, and Christy, I agree that the money being spent, look, this is no different in the scale of the United States government. The people that want to harp on Donald Trump and any effort he made to repair the reflecting pool, it's like me complaining to you about you spending 50 cents on fertilizer at Deerland Feed. It is $14 million on a national landmark to preserve, protect, to bring it back into relevant use is a nothing burger. We reported yesterday that Barack Obama spent $34.2 million on the pool in 2012, and none of you knew it. None of you knew anything about it. He spent the equivalent of today, probably $50 million on that pool. And all of a sudden, that's an issue. So I can't, I
You're
can't.
good.
I can't do it. You're good. It's good. I already did it. You can't deal with the hypocrisy. It's just silliness. Let's take a break. We're going to have a guest. Folks, USA Concrete Coatings and USA Foundation Repair. Ash, you need to move that because that's not his fault. USA Foundation Repair inviting you in to have your home leveled, have your floors of your doors don't close properly. There you go. Call them.
We're good.
Just people I just want to cut from my life.
Ignore.
You have to, because the world begs us to ignore the just overtly stupid people. Veracruz Restaurant, Friday, Chicken Fried Friday. Come on in. Have a great chicken fried steak.
Yep.
We ate there yesterday.
Pork chop plate for lunch. It's
Great
good
time.
Yep.
Veracruz Restaurant. Allen's Record Service, 578-6300. Allen's, your go-to toe-to.
Hopefully you won't need them this Father's Day, but if you do,
If you
they're
do,
the ones to call.
bring them in. Went services for all your electrical needs, generators, ballast, lighting, LED, whatever you need. Went is your electric service provider. And then Paravita Wellness, get in and get healthy. Let Erica Briggs help you with your macros, getting rid of all the gluten, getting rid of all the preservatives. Paravita Wellness and the
Get
Vita
rid of all
Cafe.
the unhealthy eating in your life. That's what she can do for you.
Take Dad to Vita Cafe this Sunday
have brunch.
for Father's Day. We're joined, and there's your audience, great one, by our state representative of House District 30, the Honorable A.J. Louderback. Good morning, friend. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
How are things?
Morning,
Ash is our cinematographer. He's putting you screen center. You look fantastic, radiant.
The fine.
How are things?
They're well. Just busy. And,
I've seen all the places you've been. You look amazingly rested for somebody that sleeps about like Donald Trump.
Well, you got to go. What you sign up for, and that's what it is.
It's funny because I don't think that was the pace before you got here. I mean that sincerely and with no slight to anyone else. I think you've taken the office and elevated the visibility, the accessibility, the
Energy.
yeah, with no criticism of any predecessor, just saying
That's how he runs.
there's nobody that has run the roads as hard and as faithfully as I've observed you doing. I know people can't say, I can't get a hold of my state rep. And people can't say, well, he's never in our part of the district, because you're everywhere all the time. I'm surprised he doesn't have like a Chuck Norris helicopter. You're
Be nice.
everywhere.
Well, thank you for those comments, but I can't adequately represent the people if I'm not around them. So,
Well, and you seem to thrive on it.
if they can't communicate with me, that's a problem.
In a lot of ways, though, you're a quiet guy. You're not reserved, but you're observant. I watch you in a crowd. You always know where the exits are. You always know where the good guys are. I've learned a lot of that just from being around you. And yet, in that crowd, you're super good at you're approachable. People come up and just want to shake your hand, say hi. I know I've tried to have dinner with you on numerous occasions, and people just won't leave us alone. No, I'm kidding. People come up all the time. So what's going on in Austin? I know you've been there quite a bit lately. What's happening?
We just had a really good, pretty significant screw arm committee meeting yesterday, which, as you know, as most of our listeners know, that we have screw arms in Texas now, and
Still 12 reported cases, or 13 now?
yeah, it's going on. Of course, we're fawning right now, which is a major concern. That's a $14 billion industry just in deer alone here in Texas. So Our livestock herds, we can kind of get together, and I think we're formulating some very good plans with, of course, the FDA. Brooke Rollins from Texas is in charge of basically this program. Sid Miller to some extent, but not as much as Brooke Miller, as Brooke Rollins, and so it's I think the hope is that we can control it until we can get enough flies out. We don't think we have enough flies out.
Just sterile flies
to do it. Commissioner Miller wants to use some baits and things, but I think the federal government has decreed that some of those things that are involved in the bait actually are very detrimental to all wildlife. So there's been some hesitancy about using baits, but I think it's a all involved, everything that may work type of philosophy that they're approaching this with.
Well, they're saying a widespread outbreak could cost Texas alone $750 million, and that's half of
I think
what
it's more than that.
That's
what,
just
like
to
two.
produce the
Yeah.
flies.
Well,
No,
I mean,
that's the production of that, but I'm up there. But I mean, yeah, could be more too. I don't know. It's just what's the beef industry worth in Texas? Do we know?
it's
that
billions.
Billions and
It's
billions
billions.
and billions.
I mean, it's huge.
I think people may not know that the fly lays its eggs and larvae in the screwworm into an open wound, which could involve right after, say, a baby deer is born. Mama is very vulnerable, and then you've got it in your animal wildlife population. Very hard to monitor how quickly and where it's spreading.
Well, I think the important thing to note for the public is that everyone, warm-blooded mammals are susceptible to screwworms, and so just in our cow industry, in our cattle industry, entry in through the eye sockets are very possible. So it's obviously wounds, it's obviously newborns, it's all those things. We just gonna have to stay at it with a very positive attitude and keep these cases low until we can get them eradicated.
They're saying I just saw the outbreak in 1976 cost an estimated $732 million in today's dollars. So they're saying a similar outbreak would cost roughly $2 billion to the economy of Texas.
Is that one that was thwarted by the sterile fly? Is that how they got rid of it in 76?
That is the major weapon against the screwworm. So that's and we put money into Mexico. We put money helping Guatemala. So this has been going on in South America for many years. Since the 1960s outbreak, when I was on a horse putting pink powder on the newborn calves and so forth. That's what we were doing back then. So I remember that. So it was hopefully we can avoid anything like that, because it'll devastate it devastate wildlife. I mean, your pets are susceptible to this. So
But if they get it,
And a dog is one of the cases of the 12 that have been confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So potentially you're looking at something that could affect the states pretty seriously.
But if you keep an eye on your pets, if a pet has a wound, you can get it treated.
Yeah.
You just don't tarry. Go get it treated quickly. It seems to me, and I think I'm still and will forever be somewhat snake bit, if you will, regarding vaccines after the COVID debacle. It seems like there ought to be something topical that you could almost like crop dust and put a barrier down to keep things from spreading. And maybe they're crop dusting essentially with sterile flies. But
part of the federal plan is use of drones with sprays that can kill the screwworm. So we've got a number of options and technologies afford us that here in the state. So I think all those things are going to be. We now have DHS involved per the president of the United States. So God bless him. So we have that's happening. We have a number of new ways to combat this, which should all help.
Good.
Yeah.
As of this morning, USDA says the last reported animal detection was June 12th. So we've gone 7 days without a new discovery, which I think is good, but that just could be because nobody stumbled across it.
I would have to consider that good, a positive note.
What was the name of our guest the other day that was the taxation expert that we had on? Yeah, that guy. We had a guy on. He was fantastic, by the way.
He did a good job.
It'll come to Cody in a minute. I read like a agenda, a priority issue list for the upcoming session, and the comments centered heavily on the elimination of property taxes. And this gentleman, who is not pro-tax, the simple thing that he shared was, look, for the last X number of years, Texas economy and GDP and all output has led the nation. And he said, I encourage our legislators to not totally disrupt the apple cart. Don't come in and say, we're going to totally get rid of this and we're going to institute this, because that economy is a fragile thing. And sometimes you have to take the good with the bad. Now, he was all about, as I know you are, let's cut spending. Let's find a way to minimize how much we need to take from the taxpayer. But he said that the method of property taxes is the most consistent, steady, stable way, as opposed to any type of consumption tax. Do you think that's going to be a big issue in your next session?
It certainly is. Property taxes are, depending on who you are, it's 1, 2, or 3 on the priority list. Water is obviously priority 1. So that's a major, that is the concern in
Yes,
the public is water and the threat that which is a little misguided at times, but it's where we're going to come home and we're not going to have tap water. So that's the number one concern. But property taxes and Sharia law probably round out the top 3. But I think from the data that the legislature has been afforded, there's a number of different strategies to reduce property taxes or the burden on our taxpayers. And I think the governor has hit upon a couple of very good ideas, but it's going to have to be a balance. There's no way that this state, I believe, will stand 12 to 15 to 20% tax. Sales tax.
Right. No, I agree.
So,
and he pointed that out as well. He said his calculations show upwards of 25%.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount. And it would hit a lot of areas, but you've got urban areas, you've got rural areas, which would affect severely. So it's going to be a balancing act. And I think the best plan is based on common sense. And let's get some of our surplus money back. Let's pay our M&O taxes for our school districts down. And some of your largest tax burden is your schools in our communities. And so I think this will all help. I expect to see some good common sense legislation, but I think there is a will with the legislature to reduce property taxes.
Do we see something? Do you think something might happen? Like, are we going to stop the game of raising the homestead exemption, and then all that happens is the CADs then come in and raise, their valuations to offset that, because that's a game that's kind of been playing.
That's what the governor has actually put out in print here a number of months ago. He put out his proposals to the legislature for property tax reduction, and that's one of them. And that is a major problem.
One thing that I'm hoping you guys will take up, and it's great to be able to have access to our leadership like this, where you can say, hey, would you look into? I think it's important that we examine at some point the role that the TEA has in public education. I think that these people, I was just told the other day, and it may not be accurate, but I was told the other day that our local Region 3 at times employs 300 people. And it's not their fault. It's because of the requirements mandated upon the schools and public schools by the TEA, which I think is a machine, part of the industry of education that's out of control. And you've got to do this, and you've got to have this continuing ed, you've got to do that. And the next thing you know, you've got a huge machine that indirectly, one off, takes our tax dollars to educate our educators. And I'm not sure that it's not overkill and a waste of taxpayer money.
So let's clarify what the service is, which there are 20 in the state, which service our school districts. So Region 3 handles 39 school districts right now. So those school districts are unable to do a number of things. And to be fair about this and what services they offer, the ESCs, they come in and can do almost anything that a district wants them to do, and the district will pay for that, and they'll have a contract with that.
So they're like a subcontractor.
Yeah. So when the legislative mandate comes down, which there are a number of federal and state mandates that come down each year, school districts aren't set up for that. They don't have they can't perform it adequately, and so they contract with the service centers to do that. So a school district is free to use any other source they want to try to get these things met and try to get the needs met that have to be, the information that has to be provided. So you're looking at a balancing act here between a district that is able to do these things on its own with its own employees, and they won't have to. They'll reduce their expenses to Region 3. So the state gives somewhere, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it's 11, 12 million to the service centers, and they do perform a valid service for districts, and they're especially effective in the rural districts, which don't have the personnel to do a lot of these mandates that they need. So it's very, very. In fact, I know it was a number of sessions ago that it was. It was very decidedly that we really need help in our rural districts here in Texas.
I wonder how many of the initiatives that are sent down from the state are initiated by the very people that solve the problem. Where you've got the machine that is the region system saying, well, districts really need this, and the next thing you know, legislation gets turned in. Hey, guess what? We're here to solve that problem for only $10,000 a week. I think that there's a racket there, even though it may be a very necessary part of the overall system. I would love to see TEA broken down and cleaned up. And
well, it's kind of like this. In the bottom line, a district and its school board has the ability to control its costs. So if they see a better way of accomplishing anything that they would maybe go to the service center and ask them to do, they certainly could. So it may be it's their decision. They may do it. I'm not real sure of the legislative load that they have and what it takes to meet that demand. But and that's in defense of the service centers to some degree. But I'll give you one negative aspect of the service center that has come up a number of times, pretty consistently, and that's loss of personnel from the districts. So how many people they're employing, I'm not sure, but I do know that school districts basically reveal that some of our best and brightest have gone to the Region 3 service centers.
They usually get a raise when they go.
Well, the Region service centers, it's a very attractive proposal for them.
Heather Stewart adds, many school districts have cut, for example, librarians and put aides in their place. Then they pay the region centers to be their quote unquote district librarian.
Well, a good source of information from Heather Stewart. She's been in education for a very long time.
She's only 27 years old, AJ.
I appreciate her very much for her service to Cuero.
Wow.
ISD.
She has a lifetime of experience at the age of 27. Yes.
Tim King says a lot of the smaller school districts don't have a CFO, so they hire the service centers to handle their payroll.
Worth noting, though, I said something and Tammy responded, agree, Brent. It must have been a typo. There's no
I
chance
think
she
it
would
was your
be
fact that
hanged.
they're creating problems that then
Well, I would just
then
say
they're
thank
then
you,
paid
Tammy.
to, then they're,
Oh, yeah,
they're
thank you,
paid to
Tammy.
solve. But you also have to wonder how much of these mandates have been. I mean, we're deferring to them for their expertise when these mandates are put in, yet arguably Texas education has fallen down the ladder of rankings in the country and around the world. So you have to wonder, is the system really working, or is it just become, as Brent suggested, a cash cow that's allowing the money to continue to be cycled through? I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
going to pat myself on the back for that one.
That was a nice one.
I'll take a stab at that. I think the real answer is we're doing everything we can, reviewing all practices that we can to produce a better educated kid, and that's been my goal from day one. Is it's about the children. It's about an education. It's about the fundamentals. It's about reading, writing, arithmetic, and science. Let's produce. Let's get our numbers up. Let's produce a better educated child, regardless. And so, I think this is the goal. And a lot of legislators have adopted the same goal. Look, let's look at all these different things. Let's examine these things as to how they're fitting. How can we modify those for a better educated child?
Absolutely.
These service centers didn't exist prior to 1967, by the way.
Yeah, but worth noting that these, when you look at the TEA, could be all very well-meaning, very educated, very helpful people, but there is no getting around the fact that they are very cash-driven and expensive services, and there is no doubt an industry that revolves around that. I just, I think, I agree. It's all about the kids at the end of the day. Whatever we can do to create a better student.
Well, we can hope that a school board would look at each expense that they have. Say, take BISD. I think the superintendent here and the school board here are taking an active role in looking at what our expenses are and how can we cut those expenses. And there may be some dollars in there that VISD has an employee that can perform those services, right. and I have confidence that they would do that, thereby cutting some expense to that.
Do you spend much time with Super Sheila? Do you end up at that level?
We've had some discussions on the security world of that.
How's that coming along?
I think it's coming along nicely. I think some of the bill packages that I'm going to present represent some monumental changes in that regard for schools.
Well, I know you've been very active, like on the criminal jurisprudence committees, and I know you've been very active with security. I don't know what committee.
Yeah, Homeland
with the security of our schools. Do you think that there will be at some point like statewide legislation that requires and helps implement, maybe even with some funding, some of this guardian type programs at our schools?
Well, we're probably going to have some advancement, which I hope to see in the school marshal world. I think that's going to be significant, and may come attached with some money for that. I've developed a plan of action that could really help school districts across the state.
And you and I have talked about the possibility of creating, like, there's certain rules that say you have to be a licensed peace officer to perform certain roles at the schools, but there may be a way to get people licensed as peace officers that wouldn't necessarily allow them to or require them to patrol and write tickets and be mainstream police.
Well, I don't think we have a crime problem at our schools. I think we need a defender. I think we need someone who's a subject matter expert in active shooter training, someone to protect our kids and our staff. And I think that's a priority with me. But I think law enforcement is a very attractive proposal in the school system today. I don't know that we'll ever get back out of that where we don't have law enforcement in the schools, because many superintendents have spoken to me, which I have 28 school districts, and I'm pretty engaged with all of them. and they have made it very clear that some type of uniformed law enforcement officer there with authority is something they like.
And I would think that would be a great place for some of the surplus funds from the state to go, is to fund those positions, because the unfunded mandate of having we need another LEO at the school. Oh, you guys figure out how to pay for it. It's kind of like, don't tell me that I've got to do something and then not help me figure out.
Well, and where does that usually come from? It'll probably cut an administrative position, a teacher position in order to fund that mandate, right? You have no choice.
The one thing that I've heard firsthand is there's a disconnect, and thank God for our school teachers. Most of them, even I don't think it's a sexist thing to say, they have somewhat of a motherly instinct. They may be frustrated with little Billy, and little Billy may be being a problem, but they love little Billy and they want little Billy to succeed. Where the disconnect comes is once you call for the school resource officer, once you involve law enforcement, a new set of rules comes into play. So the teacher can't be standing over the sheriff's deputy's shoulder and saying, don't cuff little Billy. I mean, he only threatened to stab me with his pencil. He wasn't going to do it. Don't call me unless you want me. And I think that teachers are having to adjust to that reality. We had one happen at one of our junior highs where the dad couldn't get little bit. Now, I can't understand this, and I know you can't, Sheriff. And by the way, happy Father's Day to you. I can't imagine that I couldn't get my kid to get out of my car. It may take a backhand of the chops, but my kid's going to do what I tell him to do. This dad called and said, hey, little Billy's not getting out of the car. Well, sheriff's deputy said, do you want me to help you? Well, yes, I do. Well, little Billy got set over and bounced onto the curb, and sit down and you stay there till I come get you. And then all of a sudden the parents are upset. Oh, he laid hands on little Billy. Well, you moron, if you'd done it first, it wouldn't have happened. But don't call for law enforcement unless you want. It always brings me back to Jack Nicholson. Don't rest easy under the peace I provide, and then be upset about how I do it.
Yeah.
So
one of the many challenges of public school.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. It wasn't that way when we were kids. You just didn't act up. Didn't you get in more trouble at home if you got in trouble at school?
I certainly did.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, you listen to the book, you listen to the principal, you listen to your teachers.
Well, the degradation of society is affects it all, and it certainly affects the public school system.
But parents today believe
we're trying to claw our way back.
Being a state rep is an easy gig. It's so easy to keep everybody happy, right?
Well, I don't know that I can promise for them to be happy. But I'll certainly give them both ears and listen to what's going on, and then we can assess how we can go about solving it, or maybe it's not solvable. But the fact is, I think that everyone needs some representation. Everyone needs a good listener.
Well, I applaud you though for being so well read on the subjects and everything, because the sheriff, the active duty sheriff that I met years ago, would have said, smack that kid and tell him to get out of the car. Now he's like, well, it's a complicated issue. We need to talk about it.
Well, what's effective there, parenting is a huge concern in the school districts, a huge concern in society. So, the single parent raised the child is not what we're after. We definitely have to. I dealt with it as a sheriff, and Lord knows the agencies here have to deal with the same thing. So it is a way of life now, as we've adapted to that, as we struggle here as a society to get back to a dual parenting role, with a family structure that's in place. And we went through a time period in this country where we didn't have that.
Well,
divorce rate's still too high. It's with our young kids, but we hopefully we're making progress.
Well, we've acquiesced the responsibilities that were traditionally assigned to the families out of obligation to the government and to governmental entities. We expect our schools to parent our children nowadays instead of parents actually parenting their children. And so, I mean, that's part of the problem is we've asked the government
Well, we ask our teachers, we ask our school administration
Right.
to parent children, and back during my time, they didn't have to do that.
No, that's right.
That was the parent structure was.
I mean, I know
was
a former coach who had to go and pick up the kids to come to practice. He's probably violating some rules at some point, but if he wanted them on campus to go to school so they could be involved,
very unhealthy
you know,
situation.
it is a very
Yes,
unhealthy
sir.
situation.
Little degradation there, but we're clawing our way back.
You know, one thing I would encourage you guys to look into also is, hi, Tommy Kingston, is to get involved in, you know, we hear the number thrown around a lot that Texas is like 46th in education in the country. And yet I just recently learned that 46th is kind of an arbitrary number, because compared to what? The way that we rate our children's education is not the same as the way they rate that education in, say, California. So it's not like they're all taking the same STAR test and we get to evaluate the kids based on that. It's kind of an arbitrary figure. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think we're third, you know, but we might be 28th instead of 46th. They may not, because most of the children that I know, and maybe it's because their parents are friends of mine, and as a result, I'm around good kids. But most of the kids I know these days they're pretty sharp.
Well, I'm kind of goal oriented, and I know this. I'm not sure where we are on the scale of things, but we're not number one.
Amen.
And if and that's where we need to. Our goal should be number one. That's my goal.
Sounds like Ricky Bobby.
Well, and I think there's challenges.
Can I win once?
I think there's challenges in Texas built into the fact that we do have a migrant population that comes here to work seasonally, and they don't value education, and their kids are in and out of schools. And that plays a large role, because those kids start as counters, and then, you know, they end up leaving the system. So they're treated as dropouts, and that hurts a lot of those.
We can
rankings
save
and
a
things.
lot of money at the education level by doing away with English as a second language. Make English the mandatory language of all of our public schools. If you're going to get here, get in, learn the language, assimilate, and go to school. I think the idea of giving kids a crutch, we'll teach you in your native tongue if you're from Guatemala, is an absurd waste of taxpayer money. So that's just one thought, is that let's just make English the official language of all of our public schools. If you want your kid to learn in Swahili, then go to the Swahili private school, take a voucher. But if you want them to learn with my kid, we're going to get rid of all this multiculturalism and we're going to speak American.
Well, we got to stay in reality.
Yeah.
So that's where we have to be.
I have a dream that one day every child will speak English. Yeah.
Where's the data centers on your daily conversations? It seems a lot of concern. I think Victoria is going to miss an opportunity. Austin has now said we don't want them. There's other counties that are saying we don't want them. I think Victoria needs to embrace the data centers, figure out a way to do it that addresses the environmental concerns. But this is a community, as a city, and no knock on you for this, that is population-wise has been stagnant. Tax base is dwindling. This is an opportunity that this county should embrace, because unfortunately, like it or leave it, it is the way of the future.
It is, and it is very fundamental. Each of us have a computer here within short range, which uses data centers that we have in place today.
And everybody blames AI, but all your apps use the data.
Apps,
these things,
photos, videos,
absolutely.
YouTube, everything that we're doing. So they're in existence today. And my position is really simple on this thing, and it's in print from the governor. Cody Harris just put out something yesterday on it, which is very simple. The threat is water. In water, the misinformation that's being promoted is that they're going to drain a county dry, and so this is simply not true, because the governor has already directed the two state agencies in charge of this. The PUC it's already been in ERCOT, and they already know that you have to have a closed loop system for water, and
which is new. That's new legislation.
And you have to bring in your own power so you don't affect the grid. So they're coming. They're coming, because we are in a AI battle with China. And now if this community or any communities in my district, and I told them in Bay City this week, that if there's a majority of people that don't want them, there's 3 of them proposed in Matagorda County right now.
Right.
They're just proposed. These are just data centers wanting to come here. And so representing a huge cash influx to that county. And so if the citizenry there decide that they don't want that, I'll support that because they're going to go somewhere.
I've got a buddy that works for Zachary Construction, builds power plants for a living. And I asked him about, isn't Texas somewhat unique because we're not on a national grid? We could say, let's say that you wanted to bring in 10 data centers. That's fine. You have to generate the power for 15 data centers in order to bring in your 10, and the other 5 goes to the Texas grid. That would be a nice trade-off, a nice non-tax, a barter with the state that would work
and that
really
is
well.
Part of the trade-off.
Right.
The bill out of infrastructure. We have across the state right now, we've got a number of 765 units coming. This is new technology. This is double the production of electricity, but the transmission lines have to be increased. And so the infrastructure has to change.
And there's been some pushback on that as well.
Absolutely.
Recently too.
Yeah, absolutely. There has.
Here's a great point from Heather Stewart. She says, this would be great legislation right here. If children drop out of school, let's assume they're a senior in high school, they quit high school and they have the ability to go live on their own and work. They should not be eligible for any government assistance until they have a GED.
Good idea, Heather.
I like that. Drop out of school, that's fine, but don't drop out of school and get on Snap. We ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And I've always been a proponent of, if you've got a kid in school that's not on track to graduate, that's disruptive, you could make the list of criteria. Once they're a junior in high school, cut them loose. Kick them out of our school. We're not there to babysit your 17-year-old hoodlum. And we will provide that kid free of charge, his right as an adult, the ability to get a GED, but not in our school. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Good idea.
What does next week look like for you?
Ooh, it's I'll be in Austin. I know 2 days, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday or so, and a whole host of events weekly.
Terry Murray and the team all doing well?
Yes, doing well.
Marcy's well?
Doing well. Marcy's
Good.
doing well.
I know she provides a lot of support.
Yeah, absolutely she does. Wonderful hand.
Absolutely. That's all you can hope for from the sheriff, that someday after years of marriage, he refers to you as a good hand. I bought her a new rope just the other day.
Well, my beautiful wife does more than that.
She does.
She's very accomplished about what she does.
Absolutely. Well, sir, we always appreciate you coming through, and I know how busy you are. We don't take for granted the time we get with you, and
we'll have to discuss Sharia next time, because it's
please.
That's number.
It's coming, isn't it?
That's number in many people's minds. That's 1, 2, or 3.
Governor's been very adamant. It's against state and federal law. We're not going to have it here, and yet when you start letting those folks infiltrate our school boards and our city councils, the next thing you know, that mentality is there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we 300 plus mosques. We're on our way to the Islamification of Texas.
And why can't they simply look across the sea at what's happened in England? And England's going, whoa, let's stop this garbage.
Yeah, rape capitals of the world. I mean,
absolutely. Did you hear about it? You saw that, the 250,000 young women.
Yeah, it's very true. It's been going on.
It makes the Epstein files look like a day camp.
Yeah,
it's been going on for like 30 years.
At the GOP convention, the crowds were absolutely huge in both of the Sharia presentations that were given. It was very
a lot of concern.
A lot of concern.
Well, we appreciate your efforts on that. Don't let them sneak up on us.
Appreciate y'all.
Amen.
Absolutely. Take care.
Always good to see you, folks. That's the most accessible person we deal with. That's Sheriff AJ Louderback, the House District 30 state representative, and a dear friend. He's a good one. We're very fortunate to have a man like that in office. What can you tell me about this weekend's Astros update? They didn't play yesterday.
No, they have Cleveland at home this weekend, so I think they should be. Well, Cleveland plays in the division in baseball. So could be, we'll see what happens there. But I just want to say, if you're not following the Scottish Army through this World Cup, you're on social media. They were at Fenway, I think, yesterday for a baseball game, and the Rangers played them, and the Rangers players were just like, this is amazing. Atmosphere at Fenway for that game was crazy, but this might be the best story of the World Cup, and counters ones like this where customs officers at the Port of Houston see $6 million in counterfeit FIFA stuff coming in, everything from
China.
Yeah, fake jerseys, fake soccer balls, even phony Apple watches and earbuds. It's part of this shipment that was seized. So
that's China doing everything they can to subvert the Western way.
These are the guys that'll stand outside venues and on street corners selling team T-shirts. That just don't do it. We
are at war. We are losing. Keep an eye on China. Folks, it's the top of the hour. We wish you nothing but the best. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Special thanks again to Atzenhofer for being our studio sponsor. We appreciate everything they do in the community.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Love you.
Bye, men.
Bye, folks.